Welcome to the Pathways to Profitability podcast, personal tales of business success. Are you feeling stuck improving your profitability? Learn from fractional business professionals how their services move your profitability needle. Here's your host, Cheryl Mucha, CEO of CFO Your Way.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on today's episode of Pathways to Profitability. I am here today with Carter Varn, owner and CIO of Advanced Caliber. Carter, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes, Cheryl, I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on your podcast.
So I like to start just kind of giving the audience the high-level overview of who Carter is and what your company is about.
Yes, so I've been in technology now for about 25 years. Originally a data guy, but quickly got into IT executive leadership. Started my own business, Advanced Caliber, at the end of 2019, focusing on being a fractional CIO, Chief Information Officer. I'm in the greater Cincinnati area of Ohio. But, at this point in time, in the number of years that I've been in business, I've been able to work with clients nationally as well as an international nonprofit.
Great. So, I really want to share with our audience, this model of fractional, right? So it's becoming more and more popular. I understand the value that we all bring to our clients. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the value you bring to your clients and why clients hire you.
Yeah, many times when I'm working with clients, typically in that 5 million range and 20 employees plus, they're in a growth mode, right? Where they're going to continue to move forward with their business. They maybe have been in business for a number of years or maybe even decades at this point in time. They realize that, the technology that they have in place today really isn't going to help them as they want to grow their company from 5 to 7 to $12 million. And they realize that, even though they have great people working in accounting and operations and things like that, they maybe don't have people on staff that can utilize, the experience of someone like myself that has, all that, 25 years of experience to look across the technology needs of the organization.
Yeah, and the value, right, is all of our experience.
Yeah, that's the big thing really is on the fractional model, these small to mid-sized companies that typically I target, you tend to target as well.
Right.
They get people that have bigger experiences, been at companies, maybe sometimes even corporations, and are able to bring some of those higher level people that are experienced into their organization on a part-time fractional basis, which also means a part-time expense, which is really a big bonus for the companies.
Yeah, but I always say, yes, we have all this experience behind us, right? But even in our current work, in our current client rosters, right? They all have different needs. They all have different situations, and we're learning from each and every one of them. So we're able to bring each of those experiences from all of our clients to each of our clients. And if you hire someone full-time or part-time to sit in that seat within the organization, you're just getting what's going on in your organization. So do you come across that where you're able to kind of cross-use knowledge, I'll call it?
Very much so. That's a very good point, and something that I think is unique. There's some fractionals that will try to focus on specific industries. As an example, I tend to be a little bit broader. I've done everything from had clients in health and wellness, research and development, manufacturing, construction, and worked with multiple mid-sized nonprofits. So one of the things that I like to bring to the table is, kind of lessons learned, to your point, of what I've learned being in other clients in different industries or similar industries, and how I can try to apply some of those learnings to help the current business at hand and solve some of their solutions around technology.
Right. And greater value, right? Because that's what we're all about. And I don't know, recall if we've had this conversation one-on-one, but the fractional model works, and the value that we bring to the table is exponentially there, right? Regardless of what silo we sit in, right? Or what seat we sit in.
Agreed.
And for the business owners to just realize and grasp that it's cost effective and will just increase their profitability.
Ultimately, it's one thing that I like about it is it's outcome focused, right? What is the problem at hand or problems? What are we trying to solve? How do we get that need? There isn't politics being played. There isn't anything like that, right? I'm there to help an organization grow by use of technology and move forward. I'm there to help them. And that part-time basis just is, it's the right fit and it's the right need to help move them forward.
Right. So what makes your business unique to others that are operating in the same kind of genre?
Yeah, I think one thing that is unique is, even though I'm from the technology realm, I am really business focused first and foremost. I started in data warehouse business intelligence 20 some years ago. And that was really my basis as far as where I wanted to take and utilize technology wherever I've been. So my focus is always starting with the business, who they are, what they do, where they're going, who they work for and work with, and then find out what those goals are. And then how do I properly blend those with the right technology? So that's something that I think is a little bit unique on my end.
And I love that because it's focused on the client and doing the best that you can
Right.
in that situation on that, on that day in that office, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are, heavy focused on technology just in general,
Right.
but sometimes they kind of miss where the business and the technology don't properly mesh. And that's, technology is a support function, right? It's supposed to help a business in all areas. So that's why I like to take some of that knowledge I have from pure business and
Right.
mix it to get a better outcome.
Great. I love it. So is there a myth around, in the general business community, a myth around your services or how you work with your clients that we can bust here?
I think the biggest thing is when I'm looking at these clients that are looking to grow, many times they're looking to implement new systems, new technology, and things like that. I think the biggest myth, if you would, is, well, we got this. We're smart and people. We've got good skill sets. We've done different type of projects, but many times people haven't done technology projects, right?
Right.
Starting with the scope of a project, figuring out the proper requirements, then going through the process of selecting vendors and who you're going to work with
Mhm.
and who you're going to bring on, and then really managing the implementation. Change is hard.
Oh,
Implementations of
yeah.
technologies are always have bumps in the road and things like that. And while people in the accounting department, operational department are very smart and intelligent people, they've probably not implemented systems and technology. So not necessarily a myth, but just a misunderstanding of it's just something else we need to do, and
Right.
that they don't necessarily need someone with that type of expertise. Once you get them to that understanding, it's clear that, hey, our CFO, our accounting individuals, our operation people, they can go and focus on their main jobs and tasks at hand and turn it over to someone like me on a part-time basis to help continue to move them forward and implement these systems and projects.
Yeah, and going into an implementation, you don't know what bumps in the road you're gonna hit, and you're equipped to work through those because of your experience. So, and I'm gonna guess your network and people that you can bring into the project. Again, that's just added value, like to be able to address those unknowns as they arise, and of course, with all your experience too, plan for anything that might come to the surface, right?
100%. And I'm not biased either, right? I've not been there for years, decades, and things like that. So I'm not stuck in the, hey, we've always done it this way mentality, right? I like to understand what it is we're trying to accomplish, of course, but I'm also trying to make sure that we move forward and try to implement that change.
Right. Yeah, change is good, although there's a lot of
Hard.
resistance. It's hard. People are stuck in the "this is how I've always done it" mode, right?
Correct.
But change is good, especially, added efficiency and just making everyone's quality of life better, in work and out.
Yeah, it really is. It's trying to find those, what are those routine, mundane tasks that really are non-value add? How do we automate some of those things? How do we streamline it? How do we make sure that systems are talking together so there's not double entry and
Right,
things like that? It is about the efficiency
right,
and how to effectively move forward.
right. And that kind of leads to the purpose of this podcast, right? How do we create greater profitability for our clients with the services that we provide?
Right. Well, and from my perspective, when it comes to profitability, both from a top line, bottom line, having some of that data background, that business knowledge, ultimately, I am trying to make sure that people have the right data, the right metrics, so they can be more proactive in a lot of their business decisions. I've seen too many companies that have been very successful, but they've been kind of successful in spite of themselves, where they're still
That's
managing and
my
running.
line.
Sorry, managing and running off of financial statements, which are crucial and important to a business, but they're a look back. And sometimes, if you take many weeks to close your books, I mean, you're a month or two old sometimes on some of the data. So ultimately, for me, to get to that better profitability, it's about being able to make decisions faster and more accurately.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like you need data to be able to effectively and successfully run a business.
And the correct data too.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's so funny. I'm sure you experience this too. We work with successful business owners, and to your point, despite themselves, like they got to this point and they
Right.
are successful, but now it's time to make the change to take that next leap.
Yeah, that can be hard, especially, I've seen it sometimes in generational businesses as well,
Oh yeah.
where, father, mother have turned it over to daughter, son, and they're probably a little bit more technically inclined. Maybe they're in a kind of a slow to adopt business like construction and manufacturing, but they're ready to move forward. They know that they need to adopt the technology to help support the business, right? To really be that foundation
Right.
holding it up and helping it move forward again as they're trying to grow into the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that foundation analogy I use all the time too. Yeah, you need that strong foundation in order to build.
Yeah. Don't
It's
want to don't
simple.
want to work off of something built on sand, so to say, right?
Exactly, exactly. Sure to crumble, right?
Definitely.
So fractional services, the areas that we're in and how we serve our clients are becoming more and more popular and more known in the community, business community. How do you like? What's your take on that? Are you seeing the same thing? Do you work with other fractionals? How do you communicate maybe the benefit of fractional services versus full time hire with a potential client?
Yeah, I think it's really getting them to understand that benefits. You're getting bigger, broader experience. Most of the fractionals are very well versed, very experienced, 10 plus years. So it's not somebody, fresh out of college, fresh off the streets that maybe doesn't have some of those experiences, but try to educate first to the clients that the fractional service can make a huge difference in your business. You're not locked into necessarily hiring a full-time employee. Typically for me as an example, there's a lot of times there's a large implementation in the middle, and then I'm looking at all other areas of their technology. And after a 1 to 2 year run, it's kind of standard for me. That's kind of where we're at, and we roll off. And it's good for the company, right? They've got a lot of benefits. They're ready for the future, and that's because of the fractional model. As
Right.
far as working with them, I love it. I had one client in Michigan. I worked with a fractional CFO, and we had implemented NetSuite. So she was shoring up all their accounting, right? And at
Mhm.
the same time, her and I were collaborating and working together to implement NetSuite to move them forward with a better operational system as well as accounting.
Right. Great. So is there like one little tidbit you can give our audience of advice of how they can move the needle besides, of course, reaching out to you, which I would encourage anyone listening that is struggling, right? Is there any like little tidbit you can share for them to pique their interest more?
I think the big thing is change is hard, right? But
Hmm.
change is inevitable. So you have to kind of get the right mindset of about how you want to keep evolving your business. If you want to stay relevant, you want to continue to grow.
Right.
And I think they need to understand that as you continue to grow, you have different problems, different needs as an organization. And a lot of times you may not need that full-time position, right? They don't need me sitting in that seat 40 plus hours a week. I would come in and try to implement too many things too fast that would disrupt the business. So they need to understand, going back to the benefits of fractional, of how those, I always call it that incremental change,
Right.
makes a difference in their business. It may not be an overnight change, but it's something that they can absorb, they can move with. And I think they just need to uh, understand what they need.
Right. And have that expert by their side to be able to brainstorm and find what that is they need and find the best path forward.
Yeah, that's always the goal, is where we want to go, and how can I
Mm.
help you get there?
Right. And not just thinking about it in a silo. Again, it goes back to our experience. Like we're gonna help you find the best solution. It's
Well,
not cookie cutter.
I think it's interesting as well because of our networking and backgrounds and working with other fractionals, and because I'm business focused, I'm looking and listening for other areas.
Right.
Okay, you have a need in accounting, you have a need in marketing, you need something in sales. You have got a wide and deep networking group that I work with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and
Right.
it's good for me to have those other contacts, and that provides a different level of value as well if I can bring a different service in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And always happy to bring the expert to the table.
100%.
So is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share with our audience?
I think we really covered quite a bit of, what fractional is, how it can help, how someone in my seat can really help move you forward with your overall technology. One thing that may be a little bit different that we can touch on is, the way that I typically do work with clients. Many times, certain fractionals, CFOs, salespeople in general, I tend to see them be working with clients on a bigger block of time, so to say. Hey, you're my Tuesday client, you're my half day Wednesday, half day Friday type of client. With the type of work that I do, with working on continuous projects, working with multiple vendors, obviously there will be set time for leadership calls and touch bases and things like that. But I tend to allow my schedule to be very flexible so that I can meet with
Mhm.
different vendors and handle the things I need to, versus saying, hey, I can only meet with you Tuesday mornings because
Right.
that's my dedicated time. So that may be one only piece that is a little bit different on my end. And it seems to have worked really well through the years with clients.
Yeah, that's great because you never know when a thing is going to pop up, right?
Yep. That flexibility helps a ton.
Absolutely. Well, Carter, thank you so much for being here with me today. Lots of great information for our listeners. Here's your information on the screen. Reach out to Carter. I am sure he is very happy to have conversations to give you more information about his services, about how he works with his clients, about the results he has with his clients. So feel free to reach out to Carter. Reach out to myself if you can't find Carter, and I will be sure to connect you. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I always appreciate our time together as we
Yes.
continue to meet often.
Okay. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this episode of Pathways to Profitability valuable. Conversation is always so interesting and filled with little tidbits here and there. So thank you for listening and have a great day.
That's it for today's episode of Pathways to Profitability. Remember to ask yourself, where can I pay my success forward today?